Hey everyone, welcome to CSK. Did any of you receive a Ninja Creami for the holidays? If so, welcome to the Creami Club. I've been having so much fun with mine and I'm always looking for flavors to experiment with. Today I'm tackling a classic summer treat, the root beer float. We're going to try to turn this refreshing beverage into a decadent homemade ice cream. Plus, I'll throw in a few tips and tricks about making the perfect ice cream that I've learned along the way. So grab your aprons and let's see what the Ninja Creami can do. Okay, to begin with, we only need a few ingredients, which is the same with most of the Ninja Creami recipes that I use. I'm going to use the container that came with my stick blender to mix everything in. I've got a cup and a half of non-fat milk. That's what I use. You could use any other milk you'd like. Just don't use heavy cream. And that's one tip I'm going to give you right away. The Ninja Creami cookbook, mentions using heavy cream in a large proportion to every recipe. And when they do, that ends up making this waxy mouthfeel. In fact, you're actually churning it so fast that you're turning it into butter. So if you're making Nutella ice cream, you end up with Nutella butter. And sometimes it'll actually split and it looks terrible and it doesn't taste good either. So I stay away from heavy cream if possible, but I do use instant pudding as a stabilizer, and it still gives you that creamy texture that you're looking for in ice cream without that waxy mouthfeel. Now I'm using this time, because I want to mimic the flavors of vanilla ice cream, I'm using vanilla instant pudding. You can use full sugar or you can use sugar-free. I'm using sugar-free. And I want 2 tablespoons. Next, I have something to give it that extra little boost of ice cream flavor, sort of. It's not going to taste like cheesecake, but I'm using 2 hefty tablespoons of whipped cream cheese that's softened. The next thing is something that we made here before. In the past, we made a root beer style A&W root beer. This is the syrup that we made that went with the carbonated water for our root beer. I'm going to use that as my flavoring in my ice cream. And I'm going to use a half a cup. I'll link the video to the A&W style root beer in the description below. Those are all our ingredients. Now I'm just going to hit it with my stick blender so that we make sure all of it is fully combined. The cream cheese and the pudding all get completely dispersed. You could also use a hand mixer or your blender, full-size blender. I don't want to mess those up. This is the easiest thing to clean. Okay, now that it's all mixed together, we've got our creamy container. This is a pint size, and this should just fill it up. Teeny bit left over. Now, normally what you would do is put your lid on, put it in the freezer. My tip is, if you're just going to do it for the next day, you're not leaving it in there for weeks on end, leave the top off. It'll freeze better without the bump in the middle. Because typically when you put the top on, you end up with this bump as it freezes in the middle that you have to shave off. Leave the top off and you won't have that you won't have that bump. It'll be a nice flat surface. So I'm going to stick this in the freezer, and in 24 hours, we'll be ready for our ice cream. All right, here's our container after it's been frozen 24 hours. I've let it sit out for about 10 minutes or so, just to kind of give it a head start. And you can see I have a fairly flat surface here. Now it's tilted a little bit just because where I sat it in the freezer was tilted. But if you end up with that bump I was talking about, the easiest thing to do is, after you've let it sit for a couple minutes, take a fork and just scrape the top of it. And then once you get that bump down, take that excess that you scraped and just bring it around, kind of pack it down in the low areas until you have a fairly flat surface. And that takes care of that bump. Now, I've seen a lot of people that had problems with their Creami because they broke the shaft or the propeller broke, and usually it's because they tried to go ahead and use it with a bump in there, and it makes it uneven and it pops it right off. Okay, I'm going to place my container in the carrier for the pint. Put my lid on. I'm going to turn on my machine, and I'm going to set it for light ice cream because I'm using non-fat milk and I don't have a whole lot of fats in this. If you're using full milk, full fat milk, or if you're actually adding cream to it, use your regular ice cream setting. Okay, let's see what it looks like. Okay. Now this crumbly texture that you see here, that's going to let you know you need to respin it at least once. So we're going to respin it on the respin cycle. That's one tip. Don't be afraid to respin it. It's just going to make your ice cream nice and creamy and absolutely necessary sometimes. So let's give it a respin. That's more of what we want it to look like. Nice and creamy. Now let's give it a try and see how it tastes. So let's see if our experiment was a success. It's nice and creamy. It smells like root beer. That's really good. Really good. The vanilla pudding adds just that little touch of flavor that makes you think ice cream. It's nice and creamy with the addition of that cream cheese, and that root beer syrup adds just the right level of root beer to it so that you think that you're eating a root beer float in ice cream form. Last tip when it comes to cleaning your Creami. Of course, you're going to take the blade out. Also take out this little rubber gasket here. Take that out as well so that you can get underneath it, because the ice cream and liquids creep underneath there. Then when you start cleaning it out, make sure that when you clean it, there's a little hole right here. I don't know if you can see it. And on the opposite side, there's another little hole. You want to make sure that you let water run between those two holes, as well as open up the latch for your blade and let the water run through here as well, and it should come through both of those holes as well so that it gets inside completely clean. The last place you want to clean is this shaft right here. Just take a damp cloth and wipe it off well, because this actually is at the end of your blade and goes down into your ice cream, so it gets ice cream on it. A lot of people forget to wipe that down, and then all of a sudden you get this strange smell. You need to make sure you clean that, and that's it. As an experiment trying to make root beer float ice cream in the Ninja Creami, I have to say it was a huge success. It turned out even better than I expected. I can't wait to experiment with other flavor combinations and share them with you. Have you tried any unique ice cream flavors? Let me know in the comments. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to CSK, and don't forget to hit that notification bell for more tasty recipes and kitchen tips. As always, the recipe is just below the like button, as well as a link so that you can print it out. And until next time, have fun in the kitchen.